Hi, I'm Jen the lawyer. I took the Texas bar exam for the first time and passed. So the information that I'm gonna give is highly recommended because it comes from a first-time bar passer. So I'm gonna share my experience with you. If you like the value that I bring, please like and subscribe. The first thing I would say about bar study is just like any challenge, you have to know the rules. You have to know what you're dealing with so that you can be able to attack the challenge head on. And what I mean by that when it comes to the bar examination is know how long your bar is. Is it 1 day, 2 days, 3 days? Of those days, how are they broken up? What material is being tested on the bar? Specifically, what areas of the law are being tested? Approximately how many questions for each area of law are you going to be tested on, and in what format, whether that be essay or multiple choice. Like I said in my last video, it's a voluminous amount of information in a small amount of time. So you have to know your time constraints, and you have to be able to know within those time constraints. So for example, if you have 3 hours on a test, by hour 1.5, where you should be. So if you have 100 questions, 3 hours, you know that once you're an hour and a half in, you should be on question 50. You also need to know how your bar examiners grade you and what is required of you on the bar exam to be able to get a passing score. All of this information you need to know by memory walking into the test, because you don't want to spend, again, because time is a big issue, you don't want to start the bar exam reading the instructions. You literally, when they say it's time to go, you need to open your test booklet and go straight to question 1, or whatever your strategy is, you need to start working on the test immediately, no reading instructions. So when you finally get to that first day of the bar exam, the one thing that I could recommend is you're gonna have about an hour or an hour and a half lunch break. The day is gonna be broken up by your lunch break. And during that time, you're gonna see a lot of your classmates during the bar that are taking the test at the same location that you are. Do not discuss questions and potential answers with them. Just don't do it. I know it's really hard because you want to discuss with other people if you guys wrote the same answers or came up with the same thing, because it's gonna make you feel a little more reassured about your answer. Or if you had doubts about a particular multiple choice question, don't do it. Most of the time, it's probably just gonna make you even more nervous and anxious than you already are. You're gonna ask 10 people and everybody's gonna have a different variation of what they answered or what they wrote. And to not increase the panic and the nervousness and the anxiousness about the whole situation, stick to yourself. I took my lunch to the bar every day, and I went in my car. I didn't talk to anybody. If somebody came and talked to me, I was like, not now, sorry. I went to my car. I had my Barbary outlines because I knew what was upcoming in the test, and I was reviewing the concepts that I wasn't the strongest in, the concepts that were coming up, the test that was coming up. I didn't talk to anybody. So if you can do that, I think that would be best. In my last video, I talked about how you really should be disciplined in law school, even more so during bar study, because you really are studying for your livelihood. Like if you don't pass the bar exam, you can't become a lawyer, a licensed attorney who's able to practice. So it's a super serious time. And what I mean by being disciplined is having a routine, sticking to that routine as much as possible during your 2.5 months. For me, that meant Monday through Sunday, I studied from 8 a.m. to midnight. I know that's a lot, but I did it for the 2.5 months every single day. I woke up at 7 a.m. I would prepare myself, get ready. I was at my study table. I studied at the same table in my apartment where I live by myself, and I was seated in my seat at 8 a.m. every single day. When the clock hit 12, I stopped whatever I was reading, whatever I was writing. I ate lunch from 12 to 1, and then I studied from 1 to 5. At 5, I put down my pencil or stopped reading whatever I was doing, changed into workout clothes, and I went to a nearby park here in Houston, and I ran the 3 miles every single day for 2.5 months, which was great because I lost weight. But I did that every day. I would come home, I would eat dinner, After I ate dinner, I would study until midnight. And I did that Monday through Sunday with the exception of Friday afternoon. Friday afternoon, I did give myself, after my run, I wouldn't study anymore, and I would use that time to catch up with family or friends. I would maybe go out to dinner or go out for a drink, go to a movie, just do something to not focus on the bar, just something fun, something relaxing, so you don't go crazy. It was important for me to do what I did because I wanted to walk into the bar on day one feeling as confident as possible. And for me, a structured environment, being in a routine, doing something every single day and feeling like I did everything that I could to put myself in the best possible position to pass the bar, that was what made me feel confident. My schedule worked for me. It may not work for you, and that's okay. There's tons of people who didn't have my schedule that passed the bar. So just know yourself, know what works for you, know how you learn best, but just be disciplined, whatever that means for you. I also highly recommend taking as many practice tests as possible. I know that sounds like common sense, but it really isn't. Barbary will have you take a couple of full-length practice exams. Take them. The questions from the practice exams come from actual bar study tests that have been given in the past. And so it's highly likely that that same material is going to be tested on your bar examination. It's also a good way for you to gauge what you're scoring on a similar bar exam. And when you take the practice tests, please do it under time constraints. I knew tons of people who were super smart people who didn't fail the bar, or who failed the bar, I'm sorry, but did so because they never did anything during bar study with time constraints. Why people do that, I have no idea. Time is your biggest enemy on the bar exam. So if you're not familiar with the time constraints during bar study, you're not gonna be familiar with them during the bar exam. Take the bar exams. It's not reinventing the wheel. Most states actually release prior exams. Take those tests. The Texas Bar does that. They will release prior bar questions. Use it. They're freebies. Take the test, know the material, because it's highly likely that that same material is going to be tested on your bar exam. Maybe not the same fact pattern, maybe not the same question, but the actual concepts of law. And so you can just apply them. They really are freebies. Take your test, do it under time constraints. Don't skip that part. So along the lines of confidence, here's a little story for you guys. When I took the Texas bar exam, it was actually 3 days. Day 2 of the bar exam was the multiple choice section, and day 3 were the essays. I was a little weak on the multiple choice. It wasn't my strong point. So day 2, I completed day 2, but I literally left the bar exam crying. I turned in my test crying because I swore that I failed. I knew it. I knew that I failed. And I highly contemplated just not going back for day 3. I was like, I failed. I know what I need to do. I need to study more on the on the multi-state. I'm just not gonna go to day 3. I'm gonna start studying right now, and I'll take the February bar exam. And I called my sister. She was, a source of inspiration, but I called a friend of mine who I was on moot court with in law school. And moot court is a team. It's like an extracurricular activity, but you learn how to, it's like at the appellate level. So you're writing a brief, and then you do oral argument, and there's like tournaments, and you argue against other students from other law schools. Anyways, because there was like a writing component, I called one of my teammates from my moot court team, and I told him what was happening and that I didn't want to go to day 3. And I was like, what do I do? And he was like, Jen, he goes, everybody feels that way about the test. He goes, but you know what? He's like, you're in a really good position. He goes, because essays are your strong point. He goes, and day 3 is essays. He goes, so kill it tomorrow. Clean up. Everything that you did wrong on the MBE, clean it up, because you're going to kill the essays. And I was like, you're right. I'm a good writer. I am a good writer. So I was like, okay, I can do this. I can clean up on day 3. And if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have even finished the bar exam the first time I took it. So I say that all to say that it's gonna be a roller coaster. You're gonna be confident at times. You're not gonna be confident at times, but it really is important to know your strengths and to know your weaknesses. I was focused on the weakness and I didn't remember my strength. And so my friend, thank God, reminded me, and honestly, I did really well on the essays. I did okay on the multi-state actually. I did above average, but I didn't feel that way. So know your strengths, know your weaknesses. So I know you guys are watching YouTube for some tips about bar study, but also don't forget that you guys have upperclassmen in law school or friends that you know or lawyers who are already in practice who took the bar exam. So don't hesitate to reach out. I found out with the law school community that people really want to help. People really want to see you succeed. So if you can talk to different people that you know, figure out what they did during a bar study, figure out what worked for them, take a collection of information and figure out what you think is best. Pull little bits and pieces from everybody's experience to tailor your own. I don't care how smart you are or how much you studied, the test is gonna shake you at the end. So you're already going to most likely leave not feeling confident. So if you walk in feeling not confident and then the test shakes you, it's gonna be an even worse experience. So do whatever you need to do to make yourself feel as confident as possible. So I hope this information was helpful. The recommendations were helpful and gave you a little bit of insight as to what bar life is like. If you like the content, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks.